everybody, it's Christina of CraftyPaws. I want to welcome you to this Seasons of Fall YouTube hop hosted by Sherry, who is CPR Craft, Pray, Repeat. For my project, I decided to do a Halloween theme. Some of the other folks are doing fall themes or Thanksgiving themes, and I wanted to share with you guys these cute little tags or pennants for a banner that I made using these CC Designs stamps. So first, I'm going to share with you guys just some coloring. I colored the skin and the hair kind of off camera watching TV, and then I got in under the camera and I decided to share with you guys some of the Copic coloring for the costumes. So first, I'm using the stamps from the CC Designs Monster Mash. I've had these stamps, gosh, when they were first released, probably I got them a couple of years ago, and this is the first time I'm inking them up. So shame on me, but now I'm glad I finally got the chance to color these cuties. And I'm coloring up this little mummy girl with some warm grays and then a little bit of yellow, just so that I could get a hint of kind of a more antique-y look and to coordinate with her hair better. So I'm just trying to get those little bandages around her costume to look like they have some dimension. So I'm coloring the edges where one layer overlaps another layer a little bit. I'm getting in some shadows, and then just for a hint of color, I'm going to add this Y21. And then I go back in and blend out with the lightest W0. So really simple coloring there. Then for the little Count Dracula, I decided I'm going to color up the buttons with a gold. And you can see the markers that I used up on top, the caps up on top there. And I decided for the inside of his little cape, I was going to use a kind of burgundy color. So I used a couple of reds. And then for his shoes, I'm using a C10. That's one of the darkest cool grays. And then I'm going through and coloring in his blazer or vest, I don't know what you want to call it, and his cape as well as his pants, all kind of a rich kind of satiny black. So I'm using the darkest, I think that's a C9 actually, for the shadowed areas. Then I'm going to go back in and blend with a C7 just to make sure that I get some dimension and it's not just flat black looking. And as you can see, there's also a C10, which I did not use at this point on the coloring of his little costume. For the white of his shirt, by the way, I used the C0 just so that it wasn't like the white of the cardstock, and I have a little bit of dimension. I don't know if the video is going to pick that up, but I wanted a little bit of shadowing even on his white shirt. Now I'm going back in and blending one last time just to make sure that there aren't any harsh kind of pen marks or marker marks. And it's really hard to see. Sometimes my vision isn't always the best. So for some of these dark saturated colors, I have to like wait until the ink fully settles and then go back in and do a little bit kind of touch-up blending. Then for the little witchy girl, I decided I was going to give her a purple witch's costume. And by the way, all of the Copic colors that I used, the skin and the hair, those things that I have colored even off camera, all of those colors are listed on my blog post, which I will link to in the description box below. Here you can see that I am giving her witch's costume the shading. I'm going in with the darkest color here. And unfortunately, it's off camera, the marker caps. I think I pull away a little bit later, but you'll see all the colors not only on my blog post, but toward the end of this little coloring segment. But I'm going in and trying to mark out where the darkest shadows are. And then I'm going in and blending with the mid-tone purple. After all of that was after I laid down the foundational, really lighter violet color, the V color. And now I'm going back in and trying to blend out. The mid-tone was much closer to the lightest tone, so I'm having a little bit of a hard time kind of blending, but I'm going to go back in and put in another layer of pigment after the ink settles a little bit, and this is me going back in and trying to blend out that mid-tone again. And then going back in with the lightest shade to make sure that there are no kind of harsh lines left. And then I decided for her little tights, I would go a paler V color, and also for the little heart on her hat band, For her broom, I'm going to put in a darker brown and then a mid-tone brown, just so that the broom has a little dimension as well. It's a little darker on the underside. And I'm also now coloring the kind of rush part of the broom, and I'm giving it kind of a golden hue, a little bit of yellow, and then going back in with a little bit of the mid-tone brown, the same as the top of her broomstick. And I'm just doing some quick flicking just to give the sense of the straw of the broom. I also decided to repeat that gold color on the buckles of her shoes. And I'm trying to decide here, do I use a gray or a purple for her little witch's boots? And I decided to go with the cool gray 7 because I thought that would still coordinate well with her hair. And then I go a shade darker there just to give a little more dimension to her little boots. And I think that that goes pretty well. I repeat the color again one last time on her witch's hat band. And I think that's done for that. Oh, I decided to add a little bit of highlighting to her heart embellishment and her little boots. Now I'm moving on to the other stamp set. You can see I repeated the witch here because I wanted to try it a couple of different ways. One with a natural skin tone and this one with a green skin tone. Everything else is colored basically the same. And I wanted to share with you guys this particular coloring of this, I guess, tarantula costumed girl. And it's just because I wanted to share with you guys that you don't always have to stick with the lines from the stamped image. I decided to look online and I found that tarantulas often are very colorful with black and gray and little white bands and orange. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is perfect for Halloween. And it was great because I got to kind of make her a little brighter than what I had originally envisioned. I thought tarantulas were black and gray, maybe a little bit of brown, but this bright orange really gave her a pop. And that's also why I added kind of a red undertone to her brown hair. So I'm doing her legs, her tarantula legs, in kind of a striped fashion, but I'm not giving harsh lines. I'm just kind of giving it kind of a shaggy look because I found that tarantula also were hairy. And so I wanted to give that sense to her costume. So no real straight lines other than what's in the stamped image itself. And otherwise, I'm kind of doing a loose, kind of almost zigzaggy line where each color stops and the next color starts. And here I made a little mistake. I didn't leave a white gap where her orange cuff met the top of her arm and torso. So I just used a white gel pen to go in there and add a little white detail. And that's the thing with coloring, you know, even if you make a little mistake, oftentimes you can just correct it with a gel pen or a glaze pen or a marker. Now I've decided I'm going to repeat the same kind of striping in her little hat. So I'm going to do the base with the darkest warm gray and also her little haunch area, or I don't know what it's called, not the thorax, the last part of her, of the tarantula body. I don't know what it's called. And I'm going to give it the same treatment, the dark warm gray, the white stripe, and then a little bit of the orange. And I'm coloring a little bit of the light orange and the dark orange to give it a little shading as well. Now I don't want this just to be a Copic coloring video, so I'm going to move on to creating the banner. And I'm using Diamond Die's Nesting Tags die set. I'm on their design team, and if you're interested in buying anything from there, I'll put a coupon code in the description box below. But basically what I'm doing is I'm picking out from some pattern paper in my stash. And this is old paper, by the way. This is American Crafts Nightfall papers, and I'm just picking out parts of the paper pattern that I thought would go well as a background behind some of these little images that I've colored up. And I'm going to mat it with some black cardstock or cream colored cardstock, depending on the pattern paper I'm using. And I'm using 2 dies from that nesting die set, so just so that I could get a nice kind of dimension, sturdiness, and matting. And then I pop up each of the images on some double-sided foam dots. And I'm showing you 2 of these tags, one with the green spiderwebby pattern paper with black cardstock, and then this night sky with stars and clouds, kind of a sketchy pattern paper. with white cardstock as the matting. And again, I'm showing you how I am putting little foam dots all around the back of each of these little colored cuties in Halloween costumes. Even those little tiny areas where the foam dots would be too large, I cut the foam dots to be thinner so that I make sure the entire image is well supported from the back. You can see me cutting a little piece there so that I can get all of the image kind of reinforced, because I want to be able to keep this banner or use these little tags as separate gift tags. I haven't decided how I'm going to use it. And I want it to be sturdy and last. So this little girl is getting put on the night sky background. And next I'm going to show you how I make my ribbon bows. I'm using a tool called the CraftyPaws, and it's really this simple. You put 2 little pegs into the holes that you want the size of your ribbon or bow to be, and then you just loop it around and tie a knot. And you cut off the excess ribbon, in this case seam binding, and there's your bow. That's a double loop bow done super fast. Here's a second showing of that with black lace. Again, I just wrapped it around twice and then tied a knot in the middle, and I'm just, fluffing it out a little bit and cutting off the excess. It's really that easy. I love that tool. Now I'm going to show you guys how I use the We Are Memory Keepers Crop-A-Dial, and it basically tells you what size hole to make with the tool, and then you use the same segments after you put in an eyelet. It's a standard eyelet from We Are Memory Keepers. I'm using the gunmetal color eyelet for the black cardstock matted tags. And see that peg that's on the top? That's the top, and then there's like a little cushioned bottom, and you push, and voila, it's got a full eyelet there. Now I'm poking with a Spellbinder's tool so that I can put in a little Halloween brad at the center of each of these bows. This bat comes from this little yellow bicycle embellishments pack that I had gotten years ago, and I'm showing you guys now in the black lace ribbon. I'm doing the same thing. This brad also came from the same embellishment pack, and I'm putting that at the top of the cream colored tag. And if you didn't notice, the eyelet that I use for the black tags is gunmetal, and the eyelets for the cream tags are gold. And now I'm just showing you, I'm using some baker's twine, knotting the ends because I like to make sure they don't fray. And I'm pulling through that little eyelet, that black and white baker's twine, tying a knot so that that becomes the tag loop. And then I've run some, lace, some seam binding, some orange and black baker's twine to make like a sash that all of these little tags will hang from. So it creates a banner. So each of the tags becomes like a little pennant on the banner. And I'm just tying a simple bow at the top, and I'm making sure that the other end of that little baker's twine hanger piece has a knot, and I clip off the excess. And that's it. I did the entire banner like this. I've created 6 separate little tags. And for my prize package, I'm going to include the other witch tag that I made with the skin colored witchy, and along with some stamps, some bling, some Halloween washi, some die cuts, a really nice prize pack that I hope the winner will enjoy. And the way you can be entered to win a prize package here, as well as on all along the hop, is that you need to be subscribed to each of the hop stop participants and leave a nice comment on each of our videos. I'm going to have links below in the description box to all of the other hop stop participants, and I hope you will get lots of Halloween and Thanksgiving and fall inspiration. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you guys are having a wonderful crafty day.